Hi, I'm John. Today we're looking at the A4498 network controller. This is designed to allow remote access to either the Redback A4500C or the A4505C 7-day timers. Now these are widely used in schools, shopping centres and industrial facilities. With the addition of the network controller, changes can be made via your computer without the need to uninstall the SD card within the timers. This can be done with a computer in your office or even in a remote location. Let's have a look. This is the Redback A4498 Ethernet connection pack. I'll just unbox it and show you what's inside. Obviously the packaging, which we'll just put to one side for the moment. Now this is the main unit. Also in here you'll find a specially made little board with some connections on it. I'll show you that in just a moment. There's also some leads in here. This is a LAN cable and also a DC to DC connection lead. And of course there's instructions included with the unit as well, which we'll look at later. Okay, now to put this together is very simple. First thing you do is on this end here you'll find a terminal block. If you just remove that terminal block, just pull it out. And this circuit board with connections on either end is made to plug into that spot. Now this DC to DC connection here simply goes from this DC socket around to that DC socket on the circuit board. This LAN cable here plugs into this side here, and this end here will connect to your timer, whether it's the 4500C or the 4505C. That connects the timer to the network controller. The other end here connects to your computer or to your network. We'll just have a look at that in just a moment. Should you have no LAN or RJ45 connector on your computer, this USB to RJ45 connector is all that is required, though you can still make a connection to the network controller. Okay, so the Redback unit is connected to the A4498, and then the A4498 is connected directly via a LAN cable to the PC or the laptop. This here now shows you how to edit the IP settings. On the left, this is the instructions that come with the A4498, and on the right I've got the internet. I'll just flip my screen here. Within the instructions here, this side here is for Windows 10 and this side is for Windows 11, where the settings are slightly different. I'm using Windows 11, so I'll just show you how to connect it very simply. So to edit the IP settings in Windows 11, the easiest way to get to the settings is to go to the little Wi-Fi symbol in the bottom right hand corner and right click. This gives you access to network and internet settings. Now from within that we're going to the Ethernet. So we go to the Ethernet, and what I need to do is I need to edit the settings. I need to edit the IP assignment. Edit that there, so I change it from automatic to manual. Now you'll see here it's IPv4 that we're editing, so I simply need to switch that on, and this gives me these boxes down here which match the boxes on the instructions. So all I need to do is type in the same numbers that you'll find in the instructions. Now the gateway and the preferred DNS is the same number, so I can just copy paste. So now these settings here match the settings in the instruction booklet. So if I save that, I've now updated the IP settings. So the next thing we need to do is to connect to the A4498 itself. So if I just scroll down, this is how we've connected directly via the LAN port. But this is the next thing we need to do. There's the default settings gain access to the A4498 to make sure the settings in that device are correct. So all I need to do up in the browser here, type in the IP address as in the instructions. Hit enter and it takes me to this page here. Now by default, this the ID for the device is admin. So I type that in, and the password, it says in the instructions here, the ID password by default is system. Now this can be changed at a later point for security purposes. Now all I need to do is scroll down my instructions again. We need to make sure all these settings in here are the same on my computer. So this is the UART control. So if I click on here, UART control, I need to make sure that the settings here are the same. There are options here. It might be on any of these, but just make sure RS485 matches. The baud rate is 115200. It's not on anything else. It needs to be the same. So just make sure all the numbers are the same in each setting. Once you've done that, you click update. Scroll down in the instructions a bit further and you'll see the TCP settings. Click on the TCP settings. I need to make sure these are the same. The server, port 23. Now here's the difference here. Client mode inactive timeout has a number in here. Instructions, it is 0. And the same with the server mode protect timeout is 0. There are some numbers in here. So we need to make sure it matches. So change this to what it says in the instruction booklets. Now if you don't do that, you will have trouble connecting to your A4498. I've made some changes. Click update. Scroll down a bit more. The administration settings. This is where you can change the username and the password if you want to change it. If your laptop or computer doesn't have a LAN port connection, you require a USB to Ethernet adapter like this one I'm circling here on the left in the instruction booklet. Simply go to our website, and if you search that part number like so, there we go, and just scroll down, you'll see down here there's a Realtek driver firmware page. If you click on that, take you to a website where you can download the latest firmware to suit your version of Windows. So now we have our Ethernet to USB adapter connected to our PC or laptop. We just need to change some settings within our computer to make sure we can connect to our Redback device. Then we need to change the Ethernet settings. You can access that. You could use the Windows icon here, and in the search box then type in Ethernet settings. And that will certainly take you to the correct page. Or alternately, you can right click on the little icon down here where your Wi-Fi is shown. If you right click on that, network and internet settings will pop up. So we're going to alter the Ethernet settings. The first thing you need to do is make sure the metered connection here is not on. Metered connection needs to be off. And we're going to adjust the IP assignment. And we click edit on that. Now if I scroll down here, this is the same now settings as if we're connecting directly via a LAN cable. So Windows 10 on the left here, Windows 11, so the settings are slightly different. I'm using Windows 11. I'll change that to manual, IPv4. The same numbers that you'll find in the instructions. Now the gateway and the preferred DNS are the same number, so I can just copy paste. Okay, so now by scrolling down we should be able to connect to the A4498 network unit. In the browser here, all I simply need to do is type in the address that's in the instructions. It takes me to the login page. Type in the username and the password. By default is system. Now I'm doing exactly the same thing as if I had a direct LAN connection. So I'll just go through it here. The UART control, if I click UART control, just make sure these settings are what's on the instructions. Scroll down instructions, the TCP connections. Once again, make sure they're the same. Okay, the inactive timeout, that has to be 0 as per the instructions. Don't leave any time in there or you will not be able to connect. Update that. Administrator settings are just where if you want to change the username and password for security purposes. Don't really need to change much else. If you're connected via this USB to Ethernet adapter. So now all that's done, we're ready to run our software. We're ready to open the software. If your laptop or PC is connected to a network, you can also plug the A4498 into a network as well. Just simply have the LAN cable here connected into a network switch. Then all we need to do is make sure the settings are correct within our computer so as we can access the appropriate Redback product. So to check the address of what our network is, if we go down here to the network settings, I right click and then go into the settings here. You can see I'm connected to the Ethernet. I've already plugged into some network switches, and the Wi-Fi is on. Doesn't matter whether that's on or off because we've got Ethernet internet access as well. And then we just need to check the settings. So by clicking this settings here, we can see the address of the network. Now it may not be a 192 dot system, it could be a 10 dot system, or it could be something else. So you need to check what that is so you can make sure when you edit your IP assignment you're connecting to the correct address. Now you just also need to make sure that none of these IP addresses here conflict with any of these IP addresses in the instructions. If they do, you can change the number. But there's no conflict here, so we should be able to just adjust this, make sure my metered connection is off. It is. And now I'm just going to change the settings the same as this. The same numbers that you'll find in the instructions. Now the gateway and the preferred DNS are the same number, so I can just copy paste. Okay, now just to see whether that's worked or not. Whoop. I go to the user login and see how we go. Let's plug in the user login. So it's 192.168.2.1. ID is admin. So I haven't changed anything here, and the password is still the same system. It's down there in the instructions. So essentially I'm doing the same thing now that I've done whether I had a direct connection via a LAN port or via the USB to Ethernet adapter. And now I'm in. So I just make sure this works. I check the UART control. I've done all this previously on the other settings, so I don't need to go over it again really. TCP settings, that is 0. It matches what's on the instructions. And administrator settings, once again that's where you change the username for security purposes. So I have connected through the network to the A4498. So when you first open the folder marked 4500 or 4505C, you'll see there's a number of folders within that folder. If you just scroll down, you'll see the Redback Weekly Timer Programmer. So let's open that. And this is where you would normally program all your different events. Now I'm not going to do that here because there is a separate video on how to program the timer. But one thing I should show you before I connect is the card manager. If I go File, Card Manager, this is very important. This shows you how to manage your music or tones and your folder structure. This is the folder structure that's found on the timer, and this is your library of sounds or music. Now the first thing you'll notice is there's not a lot in the library, so we can add files. If I click add files here, navigate to wherever the music files are or the sounds that we need, can highlight a number and just download it into the library. So once that's done there, now you've got a lot of music and files that you can put in any folder you like. As an example, the pre-build folder here has got one piece of music in it. Let's say I wanted to add a bit more music. It doesn't matter, I can do that, and now that will play at random. If I don't want a particular piece of music, I can just hit the delete button on the keyboard and take it out. So you can do that with any of these files. You can drag any piece of music into any folder that you like. The thing you need to know is there are some folders that must have a file in them. An example is the bell folder. So let's say I delete that, and so there's no file in the bell folder. If I go to quit out of this, it pops up and tells me the bell folder is empty and will cause the timer to fail. Do I want to continue? Obviously I don't. So I will drag that back into the bell folder. So it's very hard to make a mistake in that regards. And now this is the only way to really manage the music structure. You can have as much music basically in your library as the SD card will allow, and you can drag what you like into any folder. You can't just grab a piece of music and download that over the network. You have to do it through the card manager and then upload the whole file onto the timer. So just picture that this has all got a number of events in there, and all your music files are set up in the files. Then we go to connect. So I go connect, and it comes up with the IP address for the unit. Now you've already previously seen we configure the network adapter, and this address and so forth is in the instructions on the timer, and the password is default. Now you can change that, of course, if you require. Then I click connect, and you can see the top has changed. So from here, if there's a number of events down here, I can upload whatever I've done here. Upload. This action will replace the config of your timer with the config currently displayed. Well, this is blank. You wouldn't normally have it blank, of course, but for the purpose of this exercise, I click yes, and you can see it go across. And now that's now uploaded. There it is, upload successful. I can also download. I can download from the timer on here to see what's on the timer, and then make changes and upload it again. So it's very, very simple, a very easy way to manage your timer over the network without having to remove the SD card from the timer. So the timer could be away somewhere in a rack out the back cupboard. You can still access it.